Do you have stumbling blocks or sticking points in learning Irish that seem to make it hard for you? I've already talked in another video about broad and slender consonants in pronunciation of the language, but that's a whole separate issue. What I'm going to focus on today are three things that I find are stumbling blocks for me. There are many more, and I'm trying to think positively about them and find ways around them rather than saying these make it too hard for me. So they're more to do with grammar, and they are to do with the producing rather than receiving side. In other words, when I hear them, I can understand. When I read them, I can understand, but if I have to speak or write, that's where I stumble. Number one is to do with numbers. The numbers in Irish or Gaelic are just so different in the way they work from in English. Without even going into the initial mutations of words that might follow, so the lenition and eclipses we'll talk about in another video. Complicated enough in itself, it seems. There's the thing I call wrapping the numbers around the noun. Where in English we would say maybe 13 cups, just to take an example from a textbook, 13 cups. Irish Gaelic structures this as 3 cups, 10. So 3 and then the cups goes in the middle and the 10 on the other side. That's why I say wrapping around. If we go higher, 21 cups would be 1 cup and 20. The 1 and the 20 wrapping around the noun. 98 passengers, 8 passengers and 90. Well, I kind of built these examples out of the Collins grammar book that I reviewed recently, the Collins Easy Learning Irish Grammar. It is a logical system, but it's hard to get used to, at least for me. And I feel like it would cause me problems talking about money too, that I would say the wrong thing, because to turn to Buntus Cainche for an example, where they use pounds as currency because it's old. The text is from before the euro. Fuair sé ceithre funt deag é. He got £4.10 for it, which is not the case. So ceithre funt deag is actually 14 pounds, because in these instances the number wraps around the noun. I have to catch myself not to make mistakes with this. There are many other things about numbers in Irish or Gaelic that I find tricky, and I don't want to make too many hurdles here and put people off, but those will have to be kept for another video. My first real gripe, I suppose, with myself in learning this language is this wrapping the numbers around the nouns. My second stumbling block in learning Irish, among so many, but just 3 for today. My second one is the word order. Now really it should be simple. It's the verb first rather than the subject first, as we would do in English. Why do I find this so hard? Again, I understand it when I hear it or when I read it. It makes complete sense. But when I go to speak, I always want to think first of the subject, who is doing the verb, so that I find a simple thing like this trips me up. I take a sentence again from Buntus Cainche. Tháinig na leanaí a bhaile. The children came home. But it's actually came, tháinig, the children home. Na leanaí a bhaile. Okay, came the children home. I can understand it when it's said. Yet when I speak, I want to say it the other way around. Now, German has a difference in word order from English. For some reason, that one doesn't seem to trouble me as much. Why have I got this mental block? I suspect the answer to it, whatever causes it, is lots and lots of listening. Listening to repetitions of phrases spoken by people who really can speak Irish Gaelic until it becomes a kind of pattern that's drilled into my brain, so that when I think, that's what comes first, rather than thinking in English and then having to reverse the words. This comes with practice, and I guess I just have to be patient. It's to do with the copula. Something that doesn't work the same way again as we have in English. Now, Collins' Easy Learning Irish Grammar, which I have reviewed separately, describes this as a kind of equals sign. The copula does some of the work for which we use is or to be in English, but it isn't quite the same. Now, Irish has the verb be, which means to be, and we know already that other languages, say like Spanish, have two different ways of saying to be, depending on whether something's permanent or temporary. But the Irish copula is not quite the same. When you see it, you'll recognise it. It's the word is and ba in the past tense. So, is Misha Tracy? I am Tracy. Is skrivnoj me? I am a writer. For some reason, it feels or seems easier to learn the verb be in its ta form, ta metin, I am sick, or tatu gohintach, you're wonderful, of course you are. But you can't use that if it's followed by a noun. That's when you have to use the copula. And there are many rules attaching to this. I'm not going to go into them today. That would be a whole separate video, and I may still do that. But I just wanted to note that it's a potential stumbling block. And I suppose to ask you and to ask myself if we shouldn't instead see those as challenges or goals to set rather than stumbling blocks. Are they things that stand in your way? Perhaps, but maybe they're also something to strive to master.